10 minutes past 8.
Yes, Sally, I'll have the sport for you in a few minutes as well. Weather coming up shortly too. It's more than 6 years since Madeleine McCann went missing in Portugal, but detectives are still hoping they can solve the mystery of what happened to the little girl.
Portuguese authorities dropped their investigation in 2008, but the Metropolitan Police started a review 2 years later and will appear on Crimewatch this evening. Our reporter Tom Burridge is in Praia da Luz for us this morning. Very good morning to you, Tom. This is a very significant moment in this inquiry with a number of new lines of inquiry.
It is. Morning, Charlie. The Metropolitan Police say that they have made significant steps forward in their investigation, and they've released these two e-fits of the same person, a man they believe was in this part of Portugal at the time when Madeleine McCann went missing back in 2007. They've also going to release more e-fit images, these computer-generated images, as part of their appeal on Crimewatch tonight. Now, that suspect or possible witness, a possible suspect or possible witness that they've released the e-fit images of this morning, they say that that person is all the more significant because that they've reconstructed the timeline of events, and they say they have a better understanding of exactly at what time Madeleine might have gone missing from the apartment behind me.
Yes, and Tom, just to clarify, people might be a little confused. There are two separate images, but this is essentially of the same person. So this is relying on different witnesses.
That's right. So the Metropolitan Police have two accounts from two separate witnesses, two people that were in Praia da Luz at the time, on the day that Madeleine McCann went missing. And those two different witnesses have come up with two different images. And those are the two e-fits that they've released today.
And Tom, in terms of the Portuguese inquiry, we mentioned that it was dropped some time ago. How do they fit in with what the Metropolitan Police are doing?
That's right. So the Portuguese investigation was shelved back in 2008, so a year and a bit after Madeleine went missing. The Portuguese authorities, though, are a crucial part of the Met's investigation. The Met inevitably rely on the cooperation of the Portuguese authorities and the Portuguese police. The Met have employed 6 Portuguese detectives in Faro, the main city here where the airport is, where people would arrive on their holidays in this part of the Algarve, working on this end of the investigation for the Met. But of course they're acutely aware of the importance of the Portuguese authorities. There's no sense of criticism. If anything, it's praise. But of course people, the public and other commentators will, I guess, make their own conclusion about what has happened with the Portuguese side of the investigation in the past.
Tom, thank you very much. That's Tom Burridge reporting from Praia da Luz for us this morning.
Well, let's speak to Jim Gamble, Senior British Police Officer and former Chief Executive of the Child Exploitation Online Protection Centre, who joins us from our Central London studio. Morning to you. Let's just pick up a couple of those points. First of all, we've seen these two e-fits. They look quite different. Is it important that people look at both of them and take them in context?
Of course, I think context is going to be what counts here, and the fact that they're giving us information about the timeline that the public have never had before means they'll be putting this person, suspect or witness, in the context of where they were at the time these two independent witnesses saw them. So it's very important that people look at this, with an open mind and with fresh eyes.
Also important as well, why is the timeline so many years on crucial, do you think?
Well, what I believe the Metropolitan Police are doing is bringing people back in time, bringing those people that were in Praia da Luz back to a time and a place and asking them to reflect on what they may have done there. Well, if people didn't know that a particular time in a particular part of Praia da Luz was important, they won't have reflected on it in the past. They won't have thought, who did I see there? Or, yes, actually, I did notice that unusual behaviour. So this is critically important. And of course, it's not just for people that were in Praia da Luz, because there may be others who don't realise they hold information. They may look at the images tonight, look at it in context and think, oh yes, I know that person. And they were on holiday in Portugal at that time. They may hear information about telephone numbers and may reflect and think about whose number that may or may not be. And I don't know, the totality of the information that will be shared tonight, but I do know that they're bringing us back. They're sharing new information, and they're putting it all in the context of the time that Madeleine actually went missing.
Other things we do know is that the police have been going through phone records. I mean, they're talking about thousands of phone records at the time as well, and those could give vital clues, could they?
Well, they could. I mean, the police are working on circumstantial evidence, so they're looking at, who was in different places at different times, what their conduct was at the time, and perhaps their subsequent conduct since. So if you imagine that I was a suspect and they had my telephone number from back in 2007, because all of that information was captured and preserved at the time, they'll be able to go back into that basket of telecommunications data, see where I was with my phone and see what other telephones I engaged with. So that's just one of the things they can do. They can also look, if they have particular areas of interest, at the phones that were active in that area at that time and who they engaged with, and perhaps where those phones moved to within a short period of time afterwards. So there's a gold mine there that they'll be going through in a painstaking fashion.
I know that you know Kate and Jerry McCann personally, and this must again be a difficult time for them.
Well, it's a time of mixed emotions for them. I'm sure they'll be filled with hope and gratitude at the fact that this investigation is now moving forward again, because they've relentlessly knocked on doors and shouted, let alone writing letters on the front pages of newspapers to get it going. But I'm sure, like any parent, they are frustrated that it's taken so long. They'll be frustrated that they've had to keep pushing in this way when this little girl is missing. And sometimes people become confused and say, well, there's children go missing every day. Well, of course there are, but they generally return home within 48 to 72 hours. If you think Ben Needham, you think Madeleine McCann, you don't think of a lot of other names that fall into this category, because they don't. It's a very different case, and we're very lucky to have the Metropolitan Police at the stage of inquiry that they are.
Jim Gamble, thanks for your time on Breakfast this morning, and you can see the full reconstruction and appeal on Crimewatch on BBC One at 9 o'clock tonight.
17